New Buddha-ware Dhamma Talks. Geoff Hunt presents a talk on some aspect of the Buddha's teaching.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to apologize for last Sunday. My Zoom at this end wasn't working for some reason. I did read in the news that there was a major solar flare which affects digital devices, which lasted about 3 days. It's possible that that has something to do with it, although I just think it's one of those inexplicable things. But anyway, here we are again, so I hope you can all hear me and things will stay stable. Today's talk is a little bit more practical. If you have a pen and pencil with you, have pen and paper with you, that might be useful, depending whether you'd like to make a note. This way of teaching is a little bit awkward because I say something and it may go by very quickly and then it's lost forever. So sometimes making a note is useful, but you know, we're not in a school, so we don't have to do this, but it might be useful. What I'd like to talk about is a certain saying that is said very often in Theravada meetings, and it's just a short sentence. But you may have wondered what it means, and we'll just run through that in English, of course, but I will mention its form in Pali. Most of you will have heard the word metta. It has a little line called a macron over the A. That's an A rather than an E. So it's metta. Metta means loving kindness. And there are a number of sutras or suttas in the Pali canon of the Buddhist teachings called the Metta Sutta. And it's in several different forms. It's very popular and is often chanted by monks, but also chanted by lay people. And it's like quite a long poem about the importance of loving kindness towards others, not just for the people who receive the loving kindness, but for yourself in developing a more open-minded and stable mental attitude. So the Metta Sutta, if we reduce it to the shortest possible terms, we get Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu, which I'll explain in a minute, with just a few words at the very end of most versions of this sutta. And it means let all beings be at peace, or let all beings be happy, different ways of translating it. And in a moment, I'll ask Paul to put up a shared document. We're crossing our fingers because it's the first time we've actually shared a document or an image. So we'll see whether this works. If all hell breaks loose, I wouldn't be all that surprised. We'll just meditate and let the devil do his worst. So there's a difference between a mantra and a sutta. A sutta is a discourse of the Buddha, which is to be found in the Tipitaka, which is a collection of his teachings. A mantra is like a very short sutta, so it might just be one word or a couple of words. So a lot of different Buddhist traditions use different mantras. And of course, a mantra is also used in Buddhism and some kinds of Sikhism, where the thing is reduced to its absolute minimum, where people just say om, right? Doesn't do a lot for me, but it might for some others. But the thing that we picked up in New Buddha Way is just a few words, and it's the last few words of the Metta Sutta. So in Pali, it's Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu, which means may all beings be at peace, or may all beings be happy, translated as you wish. So what we do is just repeat it as long as we want to, as short as we want to. And if it's very short like that and repeated, and very often inwardly, that is, you're not actually vocalizing it, then we call it a mantra. So a mantra is always a short, repeated, inward words or sometimes a sound. For a long time in New Buddha Way, we had a mantra which we chanted for a couple of years actually, using kind of a drum called a mokugyo to keep us in time. And that went something like this. Let go, letting go, letting go, let go, letting go, letting go, let go, letting go, letting go, let go. Now, if you do that for 10 minutes, you'll find that your mind starts calming, because you can't really think about very much and do that at the same time. So if it's going to stay on that mantra, then you will have a calming effect. So it's one of the most elementary things we can do. Some people like it very much and others don't. But there's a simple way around that, and that is, if you like it, do it inwardly. You don't have to voice it. On the other hand, there are people who like to do it together with others, and you do get a wonderful echoing sort of sound if people are doing it together. And the togetherness comes through, let all beings be at peace, when we are the beings in the Sangha, but we're expanding that feeling of kindliness throughout the realm of sentient beings. But what do we mean by sentient beings? Okay, so what we are talking about today is a mantra, and that mantra happens to be the last few words of the Metta Sutta. Okay, now I'm going to ask Paul to put up, or to share a document with us so that you can write a few notes down if you want to. So here we go. Let's hope this works. Right. Can you just confirm that you can actually all see that? Yes? Yeah? Most people can, I think. Okay. So in English, may all beings be at peace, or may all beings be well, or may all beings be happy. Something very positive always there. The word there is sukhi, sukhi, but sukhi is a very broad word. So translating it as peace is just one way. I prefer the word peace. Happy is easily confused with the pleasure of eating chocolate or laying on a beach or whatever, which is not quite what the Buddha is getting at. So happy, it's okay, but peace is better, I think, or in a pandemic, well is a pretty good idea as well. So sometimes this is just said by a monk or the session leader at the very end, as may all beings be at peace. So I will ask Lynn today, I'm sure Lynn is listening, at the very, very end, when you've done everything else, just end it all by saying, may all beings be at peace. So that becomes part of our itinerary. Okay. It does sound very beautiful in Pali. Now remember, Pali is apparently the word that the Buddha taught, is the language that the Buddha taught in, which is related to Sanskrit, is a kind of vernacular Sanskrit. That is a kind of almost like a pidgin English Sanskrit, if you like, although that's an exaggeration. So sabbe means all, satta is being, sukhi is happy, and hontu means let it be, as in the Beatles song, let it be. So sabbe satta sukhi hontu means all beings happy be, right? Or may they be, right? So I think it's worthwhile learning this, even if it's simply to understand what is being said when you go to a monastery. And of course, we have been as a group several times to Chitta Viveka in Chithurst and to Amaravati in north of London. And as soon as we have seen the back of this virus, we will be visiting again, and then you will hear things in English and in Pali, including this, and you will have opportunities to join in if you wish. Of course, it is a meaningful expression, so it has a value in itself, as that you're expressing from your heart a genuine feeling or attitude. But it also, if you turn it into a mantra and chant it over and over, which is not usually done in Theravada, then it becomes a method of concentration, really, concentrating the mind by driving everything else out. So if you're doing breathing meditation and you find that you can't really stick with the breath very easily, then it's good to go back to this, because as I say, you can't really be thinking and saying this at the same time. You can try, but what this does is really push out everything from the mind. If you just try to keep your mind on, may all beings be at peace, may all beings be at peace. But you don't have to say it. You're saying, well, you are saying it, but within yourself. Okay. You don't have to say it in Pali, but the sound of it. The thing about Pali is that it has a lot of S sounds and sh sounds, and it's quite soothing and sympathetic. But English has quite a few guttural sounds in it. But of course, we feel comfortable in English, so why not? Okay. So let's talk now about these words. As to what they actually mean. And this is what I want you to think about or make a note on, because I'm going to ask you some questions. Now, does this carry any meaning for you? Let all beings be at peace. Why should that be such an important condensation of the Buddhist outlook, if you like? Why should that be of special importance to us? You know, if somebody grabbed us by the ear and said, well, just tell me in one short sentence, what is the Buddhist sentiment? You said, Sabe Sata Sukhi Hontu. They wouldn't understand you, but you say, may all beings be at peace, right? That just about captures it. But that is actually giving some greater depth to those words than you might imagine. Because we can ask, for example, first of all, what do we mean by all beings? That's the first question that perhaps you could think about. So I'll just give you a minute, maybe just to think, what could we possibly be saying by all beings? I mean, can we actually do that? How many beings, are we meant to be spreading our goodwill to? So I'll just give you a minute. Why all beings? Is that just an idealistic thing that you don't really attach much importance to? It's just said, or does it have meaning? And if it has meaning, what is the meaning? I'll just give you 2 minutes to perhaps put down a sentence on that. To give you some clues, some questions, some sub-questions. Beings. Sometimes people say sentient beings, but the sentient is not actually there, but it's been added by people. Now, you might like to think about what is going on there. Why sentient, and what does sentient actually mean? But when we talk of beings, that's a very abstract word, beings. Well, we've got human beings, for example, but just beings. We're talking about bad people as well as good people. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Some people have done terrible things and caused huge suffering. Are we to feel this sentiment towards them as well? Do we just mean locally, the people around us, like our family, our neighbors, perhaps? Or does it stretch wider than that? And how wide does it go? The whole world, all human beings, or all living things? Or just a select range of living things, such as our pets? Some of us love our pets. We include our pets, but not the wild version of it. So an Alsatian dog is nice, but a wolf, am I supposed to say this to the wolf as well? Wild animals, dangerous animals, animals that carry disease, insects, malaria, mosquitoes. Okay, we need to get some sort of handle on what we are saying. We're not just saying it without thinking. It has to have some meaning. But you have, with an abstraction, you can always fill it in a way that is meaningful for you as opposed to anybody else. So may all beings be at peace. What actually do we mean by beings, do you think? Right, that's the first question. Second question, at peace. Now, we are translating the word sata. Now, let's, as I said, how would you like to translate it? How do you see it? Is it may all beings be happy? Is it may all beings be contented? Is it may all beings be well fed? Is it may all beings be free of prejudice and discrimination? Is it all beings have peace in their minds rather than the exterior kind of peace? We live in peace in the UK in the sense that there is no current war going on here, thank goodness. To being at peace, well, some people think of no war, not war. That's peace. But of course, peace, I think, given that the Buddha is a spiritual teacher, must be thinking inwardly, must be thinking of our mental peace. And what is that mental peace? How would you describe that? So when we say may all beings be at peace, be very significant. Or sometimes you will hear people saying, may all beings be well. Again, well can mean physically well, but it could also mean mentally well. It could mean spiritually well. Or maybe it's meant to cover all of them. Now you've got some space here. What is important for you, and what do you think the Buddha is trying to tell us and saying, in asking us to say that meaningfully to ourselves? Is it just an empty phrase? Or maybe not empty at the moment we say it, but 5 minutes later it's forgotten and our behavior is different. Is it a call to change our behavior? And change our behavior in what way? And what is the way that the Buddha teaches us by which we may be at peace or be happy? Remember, the Buddha is saying that we all want to be happy, but we go about it in the wrong way. We seek happiness too much in physical pleasures and not enough in wisdom, for example. Okay. On to, as I said, by itself, it doesn't mean anything. I think it's a participle. It means may it be. May it be that all beings will be at peace. So sabbe is all, sata is being, sukhi is happy or well, and hontu is may that be. May it be that all are happy. Okay. So in a moment, we will stop and we'll discuss this. How many minutes have we got left, Lynn? 6? Right, 6 minutes. Okay. So I'm looking at my list of things that I could say, which will probably take 2 hours. When do we say this? The question for you. When do we say this? When we're going to bed? Or whenever we see an unpleasant incident going on? Whenever we are tempted to be vengeful in a small way? Where do we say it? Is it only in a temple or a monastery? How do we say it? Does our tone of voice matter? Does the feeling that we attach to it matter? Why do we say it? Now, this is the big question. Why should we say this? does saying something really mean anything to us? And how often should we say it? Should we say it by ourselves or with others? It's a lot of questions here. This is something that is said by monks and something that's said by lay people. So we're all together on that. So you know that we already have a practice, which is six steps of expanding our loving kindness that begins with, looking into yourself, then to somebody that you love, then somebody that's neutral, then somebody that is difficult for you, and so on, ending up with imagining you're looking at the whole planet Earth. What we've done is shorten. It is related to that because that's also part of the Metta Sutta. But we're reducing this to a kind of a mantra, something we can repeat to ourselves, or at least when we hear it enchanted by others, we understand what is being said. If you have a copy of my book, it's in chapter 4 on right efforts, where I explain all this again and relate it to its origins in the Metta Sutta. That's up to you. If the book is out just too expensive, you can't control publishers. Just let me know and see what we can do. Okay, so I think now we'll take away the document, please, Paul. Right, I hope it was helpful to do things in this way, because I also want to ask you, is it useful sometimes to put up an image or a phrase or something that we're talking about? Or is it something like, we're all grown up, we don't need to do this? You might take that attitude, I don't know. But what do you think? Because I don't mind writing it down. I'm sure Paul doesn't mind putting it up. What do you think? Is everybody muted? I see a lot of thumbs going up. That's good. Okay, so we'll do it again. Okay, so I think now it's time for me to stop talking so much, and for you to perhaps channel your questions in relation to the questions I gave you, but there may be lots of other questions that you'd like to ask, or just comments. Some people don't like this kind of thing because I don't know, it smacks of religion or a devotional sort of approach. I personally don't see it that way. This is a completely different context. We're not singing a hymn here, it's something different. Okay, I'm going to stop talking.
New Buddha Way lets go of East and West and starts afresh in the life we have now. For more information, visit www.newbuddhaway.org.